Hey YouTube, it's Curtis with Olympus Reptiles, and today we're going to be going over some stuff about rats. And we've had a lot of people ask, you know, when it'd be a good time to start breeding rats, or what do you need to know before you start breeding rats. And the reason why we started to is because we just got so many snakes that it was costing us too much in buying rats every single week, that it just made sense to start breeding our own rats. One thing you got to consider is it's going to take a lot of time. I spend like 15 to 20 hours a week here, and we have quite a few rats here. This shop, takes care of all the needs of the customers, plus all the snakes here at Manhattan Reptile World, and then all the snakes we have at our house. We have about 139 different tubs like this that have rats in them, and we produce about 200 small rats a week, and that's also with pinkies and mediums and stuff like that. So what you got to consider is the time it's going to take to do everything. Make sure you have the right equipment. I really don't like these tubs. This is just something that we have, and the reason why is because you get a lot of them where they chew holes in these, and I put pieces of wire around here to kind of keep them from, making the holes bigger and getting out of there. You can kind of see right here where that one's kind of peeking out. So what happens is, they chew out these little holes, and they're going to get out, and they're going to, chew on this. This is how we do the water system. This makes it a lot easier than using something kind of like this, like these little water bottles. These you have to fill up all the time. With this, it's about every 3 to 4 days we have to fill this. But, and these are pretty simple. You just unhook it like that. It doesn't leak the water. You put it back in, and then it runs for this whole rack. We get the food. This is Missouri, rat breeder food. We put it up here on top because you don't want it inside here, because that's where the rats are going to be. They're going to, trample on it and then get it all dirty, and then you don't want them eating it. So you have it above here, so the rats will chew on it, and they'll break it off into little pieces, and then they'll eat it. On these, what we do is we have one male and then 2 females, and we leave them in here all the time. The male doesn't bother the babies. They all get along pretty good. Up here, we have some of the smallers. These are some pinkies that were born just a couple of days ago. This one's a little bit bigger one. These are almost fuzzies. They're getting a little bit bigger. When you start your own rat breeding project, the thing you got to think of is how many rats do you need to produce. Each female, on an average, what I've kind of found, will do around an average of 9 babies each time they have a litter. And it takes 21 days for, once they get pregnant, the gestation period, to where they actually lay a litter of pinkies. And then it's going to take like another about 5 weeks for those pinkies to grow up to where they're a size of these ones here, which are the smalls. And this is what we mostly feed our snakes. That's about 5 weeks. Once you start getting up to bigger ones, these are going to be mediums. These are more like 7 weeks old. And then they get, bigger and bigger to where you get like, larges and extra larges. Mediums is probably what you'll feed like most of your adult females. Maybe getting a large every once in a while. They do pretty good on that. This is cowboy shavings. It's a softwood. It's kind of a pine wood. This is not something you would want to use on your snakes. The pine oils and stuff are bad for them. But for the rodents, they work really well. I clean these about every 7 to 10 days. You don't want them to get too bad, because then the rats can get sick. You want to you want to keep them as clean as you can. But this whole rack, like this one up here, you can see that one has a lot of babies of different sizes. So one thing you got to consider is that, if you have, like I said, say these, they lay 9 babies every 21 days, or once the female gets pregnant, then she's going to go and nurse them all before she's going to get pregnant again. So it's not like they constantly keep laying more and more babies. So if you say you have 9 snakes, well, she's going to lay a litter of 9, and it's going to take them 4 or 5 weeks to get up to a small. And then you're going to need, after you feed them off, then you're going to have more rats, and then more rats. And just to feed 9 snakes, you're going to have more than just one tub of 3 rats. You're going to have multiple tubs. Another thing you need to consider is rats do smell. I try to clean them as much as I can, and that helps keep them healthy. Doesn't it keeps them disease and everything down. But another thing is you're going to have to figure some type of ventilation. We have a huge fan up here that sucks all the air out. Then we keep fans in here to keep the air circulated. You can run this room with this many rats. You can stand in the middle of it, and it's not going to smell just because of how good the ventilation is. So if you're breeding rats at your house, you can't just put them in one of your bedrooms, because eventually it's going to start to smell, and you're going to have some way to take care of that. That's just something you need to kind of consider. But rats are a lot of fun. They're really, really nice, curious animals. When I first started breeding them, I was kind of surprised at how many people are afraid of rats. And, I told them, like, ooh, they're going to get, diseases, and they're going to bite you. I've never had a rat bite me just because they're mean. I have been bit before. If you're going to work with animals enough, you're eventually going to get bit by them, no matter what animal you're working with. And the only time I've been bitten by rats is because they're nervous and they're afraid, not because they're mean and they're just out to get me. But just look how cute they are. This is a little, I like the ones with the different spots on them. Then you have like the blue rats. Here's a hooded rat. Then you have just a regular like brown, black rat. They're pretty amazing creatures. Watch out. And today I have my girlfriend Jen running the camera because Matt is gone at a Vikings football game. So, do you have any questions, Jen?
Say you have a baby ball python just out of the egg. What do you consider feeding it? What size?
One thing you can kind of try is, say, like one of these pinky rats. I like to try to get snakes, especially your ball pythons, eating rats. Rats will get bigger and they're a little bit more nutritious than what, say like mice or different ones like that. The only bad thing about, pinky rats is they don't usually move around as much. And snakes kind of need that movement to kind of get them interested in the food item. So what a lot of people will kind of do is they'll do these are mice, and they'll get something like this, which is a hopper, and they move around a lot more than what the pinky rats do. And then these are even like pinky mice right here, and they come in like all different colors. But basically you want something that's going to move around a lot. Here at the shop we also breed African soft furs, and these are going to be the most native food that their ball pythons are going to have because they come from Africa. But you want, they get about the same size as the mice. This is going to be like a little fuzzy. They're just a little bit smaller sometimes. And then these are the adult ones. Some people say that if you get an animal, you get a ball python stuck on these, that's the only thing they're going to eat. And we feed these to like a lot of our ball pythons, then we'll switch them back over to rats. It's just kind of whatever they're interested in. Sometimes, these are just regular adult mice here. Sometimes we have some ball pythons that will just want to eat mice for a little while. We just kind of offer them, if we have a snake that's having a little bit of trouble eating, we offer them a variety of different food items just to try to get them interested back into eating. And eventually what we want to do is to get them back onto rats because it seems like they're a little bit better, a little bit more nutritious for them. These don't get as big. Once you get a bigger snake, this is just going to be kind of a snack for them, and you have to feed them more of them just to make up for, say, like a small or to like a medium rat. Any other questions?
No.
Well, thank you guys for watching. If you have any other questions on rats, or you're considering breeding rats and you want to ask something or want a little bit more information, just leave a comment down and just make sure you subscribe so you can follow us, and you can ring that little bell, and that's notification, so when we put up a new video it's going to pop up and let you know. So, thank you for watching, and see you next week.